Hey, historian lovers, settle in, find your coziest spot, and let the gentle hum of the night embrace you. For tonight, we embark on a truly special journey, one that will carry us back to the land of timeless sands and whispering winds. Ancient Egypt, we're not chasing grand battles or fearsome pharaohs. Tonight, oh no, instead we're going to softly uncover 15 remarkable truths about their world. Facts that reveal a civilization far more gentle and profoundly connected to unseen forces than you might ever imagine. We'll discover how their magic, truly their life force called heka. And you know, some of the most fascinating insights come towards the end of our journey, like how their deep wisdom softly echoed through time, touching distant cultures. But before we dive into this tranquil narrative, if this quiet exploration touches your heart, please gently tap that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and consider subscribing to our cozy corner of history. I'd be so excited to hear where you're listening from. Perhaps America, Europe, or Asia. It always feels so wonderful to know we're all hanging out together in this one peaceful place, connected by the quiet magic of history. Let's begin, shall we? And allow these ancient whispers to soothe your spirit. 1. The gentle flow of heka. Understanding ancient Egypt's life force? Come closer. Now, friend, let your shoulders relax, let the days gentle hum fade into the quiet stillness that gathers. As twilight deepens for tonight, we journey to a land bathed in the golden hues of ancient suns. A land where the very air seemed to whisper secrets, where the rustling of reeds along the Nile carried tales as old as time itself. We speak of Kemet, the Black Land, ancient Egypt, a civilization that continues to enchant and intrigue us from across the vast expanse of centuries. But tonight, we won't chase pharaohs or the clash of armies. Instead, we'll seek something far more subtle, something that lay at the very heart of their world, a concept often shrouded in misunderstanding, often painted with strokes too dramatic, too much like the hurried world we inhabit. We will speak of heka, a word often translated as magic, but a translation that, like a well-worn coin, has lost some of its original luster, its deeper meaning. Imagine, if you will, the very moment of creation, not as a sudden burst, but as a gentle unfolding, like a lotus blossom slowly opening its petals at dawn. For the ancient Egyptians, this genesis wasn't a chaotic event, but an act imbued with a fundamental force, a divine energy that brought order from the primordial waters of none. This force, this vital essence, was heka. It wasn't a trick, not a conjurer's illusion, but a power inherent in the cosmos, as natural as the river's flow, as constant as the sun's daily journey across the sky. Think of it as the very breath of creation, the silent hum that resonated through all things, from the mightiest gods to the smallest grain of sand, from the soaring flight of the falcon to the slow, deliberate crawl of the scarab beetle. Heka was the invisible thread that connected everything, the very fabric of existence itself. To understand heka is to begin to understand the ancient Egyptian worldview, a world where the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual were far more porous, far more fluid than we often conceive. It wasn't something separate, a renewal of the life force that sustained the world. The pharaoh himself, as the intermediary between the divine and the mortal realms, was believed to possess a potent connection to heka, his very being a conduit for this vital energy, ensuring the continued order and prosperity of the land. His rituals, his pronouncements were not mere earthly acts, but imbued with this cosmic power. But try for a moment to step outside our own framework, to imagine a world where the invisible forces were not just mathematical equations. In each of these moments, heka was present, a subtle vibration in the air, a silent understanding that connected the human realm with the divine. It wasn't always dramatic or overt. Often it was the quiet assurance that the cosmos was ordered, that life had meaning, that the gods were present and active in their world. Let us instead focus on this foundational concept of heka, this gentle flow of life force that permeated their world. For it is in understanding This fundamental principle that we can begin to truly appreciate the nuances of their beliefs about what we now call magic. It wasn't a separate, sinister art, but an intrinsic aspect of their reality, a comforting, ever-present power that shaped their lives from the cradle to the tomb. A whisper in the sands of time, a gentle current in the river of their existence, waiting for us to listen, to feel its subtle flow, and perhaps to understand a little more deeply the world as they knew it. A world alive with heka, the very essence of life itself, gently unfolding around them, much like the quiet settling of night around us now, bringing with it a sense of ancient peace, a connection to a time when the world felt intimately alive, infused with a power both mysterious and comforting, a power they knew as heka, the gentle flow, the very heartbeat of their ancient world. But living energies were the active intention of focused will could indeed influence the flow of these energies. For the ancient Egyptians, heka was not something to be controlled in a forceful way, but as a gentle invocation of the heka that flowed through all living things, a drawing upon that inherent life force to nurture and protect. It was a belief in the interconnectedness, a sense that even the smallest act of intention held a certain power within this cosmic web of energy, but rather something to be understood, to be worked with in harmony, like a sailor understanding the currents of the sea, something invoked only in special rituals or by particular individuals. Rather, it was an ever-present reality, a subtle current that ran beneath the surface of their everyday lives, influencing their actions, their beliefs, their understanding of the world around them. This too was seen through the lens of heka, not just a natural phenomenon, but a manifestation of divine power, a blessing bestowed upon the land. But it was more fundamental than that. It was the underlying principle that shaped their religion, their science, their art, their very understanding of cause and effect. When a farmer planted seeds, he wasn't just engaging in an agricultural practice. He was participating in a cycle of life sustained by heka. When an artisan crafted a statue, he wasn't just creating an object, he was imbuing it with a potential, a resonance with the divine through heka. The Egyptians watched the river's ebb and flow with a deep sense of reverence, understanding it as part of the grand cosmic rhythm, a dance orchestrated by the gods and sustained by heka. Consider the rising of the sun, Ra's majestic journey across the heavens. This wasn't just a celestial event, but a daily act of heka. Think of the fertile Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, its annual flood bringing forth abundance and sustenance. Now, some might think of this pervasive force as something akin to a religion. It's easy for us, with our modern scientific understanding, to dismiss such beliefs as mere superstition. Imagine a gentle breeze carrying the scent of blooming papyrus, the soft murmur of voices along the riverbank, the rhythmic beat of a drum during a temple ritual. Consider a mother whispering a prayer for her child's well-being, not as a desperate plea to a distant deity. So, as we begin our exploration of ancient Egyptian beliefs, let us set aside the sensationalized tales of curses and dark magic for a while. 2. Beyond shadows and spells. Everyday magic for a tranquil life. The night deepens around us. Friend, a gentle blanket woven from velvet darkness and the distant shimmer of stars. A perfect canvas for our continuing journey into the quiet wonders of ancient Egypt. In our last gathering, we softly explored the very essence of heka, to how this vital force was woven into the very fabric of daily life. Not for grand pronouncements or fearsome curses, but for the quiet, reassuring pursuit of a tranquil existence, for the protection of homes, the health of families, and the gentle unfolding of prosperity. That pervasive divine life force that infused every fiber of their world, not a sudden flash or a dramatic flourish, yet within its walls, a vibrant tapestry of life unfolds. Children playing, women grinding grain, men returning from the fields. Lullabies might not have just been songs, but gentle incantations, words of power passed down through generations, whispered over a sleeping infant, often adorned with images of protective deities. Spells and amulets were employed, not to combat evil spirits in a dramatic battle, not to make the thread magically stronger, but to ensure that the work would be fruitful, that the textiles woven would bring warmth and comfort. A grinding stone might be blessed to ensure abundant flour. Nourishing the family, these were not grand rituals, but quiet acknowledgments of the interconnectedness of all things. An infusion of intention into every act, however small, ensuring a tranquil domestic life, free from discord, but to ease the transition, to ensure the safe passage of both mother and child into the world. It was an act of profound care, deeply spiritual, yet utterly practical, seeking to align human vulnerability with divine benevolence. A special ointment applied with an accompanying incantation to ease a child's toothache. These were not traumatic interventions, but gentle acts of restoration, seeking to re-establish harmony and balance, drawing upon the inherent cosmic order that heka represented. From the warmth of the morning sun to the safety of the sleeping household heka, was there a silent, comforting presence ensuring the tranquil flow of life, warding off the small anxieties, and nurturing the quiet joys that make up the fabric of existence. It was the essence of their resilience, the foundation of their hope, and the quiet strength that allowed them to live in harmony with their gods, their land, and each other, a profound and beautiful understanding of the world, a whispered reassurance in the quietude of our night, a tranquil current carrying us further into their ancient embrace, leaving us with a deeper appreciation for the simple yet profound peace they sought in their daily lives, guided by the omnipresent, gentle flow of heka. A truly comforting thought as we drift deeper into slumber. And the fertility of the soil. For him, heka offered a sense of control amidst uncertainty and well-being of the community. It was about protection, about prosperity, about the quiet, continuous effort to maintain balance in a world that, like ours, had its unpredictable moments, but one they believed could be gently guided towards order through the understanding and application of this divine force. A quiet assurance. Small rituals might accompany the planting of seeds, a whispered prayer for a bountiful harvest, offerings made to the deities associated with the inundation, not as a guarantee, but as an act of cooperation with the divine forces. A gentle nudge to encourage the flow of heka towards abundance, protecting his crops from blight, ensuring the health of his livestock. It was about living in harmony with the natural world, understanding its rhythms and seeking its gentle favor. A soft caress against a fevered brow, not a forceful command, but a tender plea. A drawing forth of the protective heka from the cosmos to enfold her precious child in a cloak of invisible safety. But a ritual laden with intention. Perhaps small offerings were placed beneath the threshold, or a specific incantation whispered into the freshly molded clay, not to ward off a specific terrifying evil, but to invite harmony, to sanctify the space, to ensure that the living within its walls would be embraced by the benevolent aspects of heka, that their days would flow with ease and their nights with peaceful slumber. For the ancient Egyptians, even in this seemingly mundane setting, the unseen world was ever present, filled with both benevolent and potentially mischievous forces, with her swollen belly symbolizing fertility and protection. These were not fearsome idols, but comforting presences, their images carved on bedposts, painted on walls, or crafted into small amulets, acting as silent sentinels. Their very forms imbued with a gentle heka to ward off the petty disturbances of daily life, to ensure the safety of mothers and children, to simply keep the atmosphere within the home one of peace and well-being. And it was here, in the heart of the home, that heka was most intimately embraced as a protective embrace, but a constant, gentle current, the very breath of creation. Now, as we settle further into the quietude, let us turn our gaze from the grand cosmic understanding of heka to its more intimate, more tender applications. Imagine, if you will, a sun-drenched mud brick home nestled along the fertile banks of the Nile, perhaps a humble dwelling. Consider the simple act of building a home. It wasn't merely the laying of bricks. Within these homes, you would often find little figures, charming and sometimes playfully grotesque. Depictions of deities like Bes, the dwarf god with his joyous leonine face, or Torit, the hippopotamus goddess. Think of a new mother, her heart filled with the tender vulnerability of new life. For her, the world was filled with quiet anxieties, the fear of illness, the desire for her child's healthy growth. Here, Heka offered solace. Childbirth itself was seen as a precarious journey, but one softened by the gentle application of Heka. Women would recline on birthing bricks. Even the mundane tools of daily life could be touched by Heka. A spindle used for spinning thread might have a small charm tied to it. Consider the concerns of a farmer, his livelihood entirely dependent on the whims of the Nile, the generosity of the sun. And what of personal relationships? The bonds between husband and wife, between friends for these two. Heka offered quiet support. There were no dark love potions or manipulative spells in the common understanding. Rather, there were small charms, gentle invocations aimed at fostering affection, ensuring fidelity, or mending small quarrels. These were not about forcing another's will, but about strengthening the natural flow of warmth and understanding between people, aligning hearts through the subtle currents of Heka. Even in moments of sadness, in the face of petty squabbles or minor misfortunes, Heka was present as a comforting balm. A small ritual might be performed to cleanse the home of lingering negativity. It is a profound testament to their worldview that they saw Heka not as something to be wielded aggressively, but as something to be engaged with respectfully, to be channeled for the common good, for the peace. So as we imagine these simple sun-drenched lives, we can see that magic was not a separate mysterious realm, but an integral gentle thread, running through every aspect of their days and nights. 3. Whispers on papyrus. When hieroglyphs became living charms ***, the night deepens further now, friend, wrapping us in its quiet embrace, as soft as the desert winds sighing over ancient stones. We continue our gentle journey into the heart of ancient Egypt, a land where every breeze seemed to carry a story, and every shadow held a deeper meaning. We've spoken of heka, that profound, pervasive life force, the very breath of creation itself, and how it quietly infused the daily lives of the Egyptians, bringing comfort and protection to their homes. Now, let us turn our attention to something equally remarkable, something that often appears merely as intricate art, but for them, held the very essence of living power. The hieroglyphs. It was an act of profound reverence, a sacred duty, for an incorrectly formed sign, a clumsy line, could not only diminish its aesthetic beauty, but could also lessen its magical potency, potentially even altering its meaning in a way that could disrupt the desired flow of heka. Thus, their dedication to perfection was not just artistic, but deeply spiritual, ensuring the efficacy of these living charms. For the Egyptians believed that true power lay in the spoken word, and when that spoken word was the divine language of the hieroglyphs, its potency was magnified. Each utterance was an invocation, a summoning of the cosmic forces, a weaving of reality through sound and meaning. Imagine, if you will, a scribe, perhaps seated cross-legged on a mat, the warm lamplight flickering over his careful hand. He dips his reed pen into a small palette of vibrant pigments. Within funerary contexts, sometimes these signs would be deliberately incomplete, or have a knife inscribed through them. Not out of fear of the written symbol itself, permeated every facet of their society, from the grand monuments that dotted the landscape, eternally proclaiming the pharaoh's majesty and securing his afterlife, to the simple pottery shards inscribed with a protective prayer for a child. It was a pervasive understanding that words were not inert, but dynamic, infused with heka, capable of bringing forth blessings, ensuring cosmic order, and safeguarding the journey of both the living and the dead. But out of a profound understanding that even a painted image, if too perfectly rendered, could potentially come to life and pose a threat to the deceased's eternal peace. It was a testament to their deep belief in the living quality of these sacred signs of funerary text. like the famous Book of the Dead, wasn't just a guide for the deceased's journey. These weren't simple letters. They were containers of intention, infused with the focused will of the one who commissioned them, or the priest who inscribed them. A gentle hum of divine energy, waiting to be seen, to be understood, to be activated. It paints a picture of a people deeply connected to their language, recognizing its sacred origins and its profound ability to shape their spiritual and physical world. A silent, powerful tapestry woven from ink and stone, protecting, preserving, and whispering the ancient truths, carrying us gently through the sands of time, understanding a little more deeply the quiet strength that lay in their sacred script, a comforting thought as the night deepens, and the whispers of ancient Egypt grow ever clearer, drawing us into a serene slumber, knowing that even in their written words, there was a gentle, living charm. These were often inscribed with brief, potent hieroglyphic phrases, a name, a protective epithet, a short blessing. These tiny inscriptions transformed a piece of carnelian or lapis lazuli into a potent, personal charm, its power amplified by the living words carved upon its surface, protecting the wearer throughout their waking hours, and even into their dreams. Their power lay not just in the meaning of the words, but in the very act of their creation and preservation, a tangible link to the unseen forces, a quiet whisper for a desired outcome. It was an instruction manual for the afterlife, filled with spells and incantations designed to open gates, to placate fierce guardians, to ensure a safe passage into eternal bliss. Each word, each phrase, was a protective shield, a key, a living charm to navigate the perilous yet ultimately hopeful journey through the do-it, the underworld, not merely intending to record a decree or a tale, but to bring forth a living charm to imbue a surface with potent energy. For in ancient Egypt, words were not just symbols on papyrus or stone. They were alive, pulsing with dollar, heka dollar, capable of shaping reality, of protecting, of empowering. Eternal rituals frozen in stone, ensuring the continuous flow of divine blessings into the land, protecting the sacred space, and constantly invoking the presence of the gods, each carved feather, each flowing line of water, each serene face of a deity, hummed with a quiet, potent energy, guarding the temple through the ages. The hieroglyphs themselves, those beautiful, intricate pictures, were believed to be the words of the gods' divine expressions. Given form, each bird, each animal, each human figure, each simple object held within it, not just a phonetic sound, but a deeper, symbolic resonance, a spark of the divine. So when a scribe carefully painted or carved these signs, he wasn't simply writing, he was performing an act of creation, weaving spells with ink and chisel, coaxing dollar heka dollar into tangible existence. Consider the towering walls of a temple, bathed in the soft glow of the morning sun, adorned with endless lines of these wondrous signs. To our eyes, they are magnificent works of art, historical records. But to the ancient Egyptian, they were far more. They were living prayers. Think of the meticulous care taken by the artisans, the precise cuts of the chisel, the delicate brush strokes of the painter. This wasn't just craftsmanship. Even the papyrus scroll, seemingly fragile and ephemeral, held immense power when adorned with these sacred words. Imagine the soft rustle of a papyrus as it was carefully unrolled, revealing vibrant illustrations intertwined with lines of elegant hieroglyphs. Perhaps a scroll carried by a pilgrim seeking healing, or a love charm given by a hopeful suitor. Consider also the small, precious objects that adorned the living and accompanied the dead, the countless amulets crafted in the likeness of gods or sacred symbols. The very act of speaking these hieroglyphs aloud, often done during rituals or recitations, was believed to further activate their power, to give them voice and breath. Think of the meticulous care taken to remove or disable certain hieroglyphs, particularly those depicting potentially harmful animals like snakes or scorpions. This profound reverence for the written word, this belief in the hieroglyphs as living charms. It is a beautiful thought, isn't it, to imagine a world where every inscription, every carved image, was a vibrant whisper of power. 4. the silent guardians. The comforting presence of amulets and charms, the night air is still. Friend, holding us gently within its deep embrace. A perfect quiet for our continued journey into the tender heart of ancient Egypt. We've journeyed through the pervasive flow of heka, that life force woven into the very fabric of their world. And we've listened to the whispers of living hieroglyphs, understanding how their sacred words imbued stone and papyrus with quiet power. Now, as we settle deeper into this peaceful quietude, let us turn our gaze to the small, tangible wonders that were perhaps the most personal and ever-present expressions of heka in their lives. The countless amulets and charms, silent guardians worn close to the skin, carried in purses, or placed carefully among treasured possessions. A gift from the gods, and the ankh, whether held in the hand of a deity in a temple carving or worn by a living person, was a powerful, silent affirmation of vitality, of health, of enduring existence. It was a gentle prayer for a long and prosperous life, a constant connection to the life-giving forces of the cosmos. Imagine, if you will, the bustling marketplace of a thriving ancient Egyptian town, the scent of spices mingling with the dust of the street, the gentle murmur of voices. Amidst the vibrant stalls, it was a benevolent gaze, ever watchful, silently safeguarding the wearer from harm, a pervasive reassurance that one was always under the watchful care of the divine, a gentle shield against the uncertainties of the world. You might find a craftsman, his hands deftly shaping a tiny scarab beetle from glistening faience, or polishing a smooth piece of carnelian into the graceful loop of an ankh. The accompanying whispered incantations during their consecration all contributed to their potency, making them far more than mere ornaments. They were active participants in the wearer's well-being, each with a specific purpose for the arduous journey through the afterlife. A heart scarab, often inscribed with a prayer to prevent the heart from testifying against the deceased during judgment, ensuring that even in death, the protective embrace of heka would continue, a continuous stream of benevolent energy guarding the soul on its most important journey. Was a crucial companion, ensuring a smooth passage into eternal bliss. Other amulets, like the jed pillar or the tayet knot, were placed to secure the deceased's eternal existence, to keep them whole and safe in the realm of Osiris. To the humble farmer whose child might wear a simple string of blue beads, each object, regardless of its material value, held immense spiritual worth, a personal connection to the vast network of heka that permeated their lives to ensure their healthy growth. It was a mother's tender wish given tangible form, a silent promise of protection, a constant, comforting presence for the vulnerable little one. To ensure a good catch and to protect against the river's dangers, a woman might wear an amulet of Isis or Hathor, invoking their gentle blessings for fertility, for love, for the nurturing warmth of family. Each amulet was a carefully chosen companion, but symbols of hope, of resilience, of a constant, gentle connection to the divine, reminding us that even the smallest objects, when imbued with intention and belief, can hold a quiet protective power, bringing comfort and peace, much like the gentle rhythm of your own breath now as you drift further into peaceful rest, secure in the comforting embrace of ancient wisdom. A silent ally in the daily journey of life. For the Egyptians, these were not merely decorative trinkets, but powerful conduits of protection, miniature reservoirs of heka, each designed with a specific purpose, a silent prayer given tangible form. For the Egyptians, this was not a crude sight, but a profound symbol of rebirth, of creation, and of the sun god Khepri, pushing the sun disk across the sky each morning. So, a scarab amulet, carved from green jasper or blue faience, worn as a ring or a pendant, was a constant reminder of renewal, of life's continuity, of the daily promise of a fresh start, a gentle invocation of hope for the wearer, ensuring vigor in life and rebirth in the afterlife. Consider the simplest of these, a small polished stone or bead, perhaps just a vibrant splash of color. Yet for the wearer, it was a constant companion, a quiet reassurance against the unseen currents of ill fortune. Its material, its color, its very shape were chosen with care, believed to resonate with particular divine energies, silently deflecting negativity, gently attracting good luck like a small, comforting secret held close to the heart. Among the most iconic, and perhaps most comforting, was the scarab beetle, a humble creature observed pushing its ball of dung across the desert floor. Then there was the ankh, that elegant loop with its crossbar, the very symbol of life itself. For the Egyptians, life was the ultimate blessing. And the wedged eye, often called the Eye of Horus, a stylized human eye, calm and vigilant. This was a potent symbol of protection, of healing, of wholeness, believed to ward off illness, to restore health, to guard against the envious glance or the unseen threat. These amulets were not reserved for the wealthy or the powerful. Oh no, their comforting presence permeated every stratum of society, from the pharaoh adorned with priceless gold and lapis lazuli charms. Consider a child, perhaps just beginning to toddle. A tiny charm, perhaps a small, crude figure of Bes or Toheirit, might be tied to their wrist or ankle to keep them safe from falls, from childish ailments. For adults, the choice of amulet might be more personal, reflecting their profession, their concerns, or their hopes. A fisherman might carry a charm depicting a fish or a crocodile. The power of these amulets lay not just in their symbolic meaning, but in the belief that they were literally infused with heka, that they acted as miniature batteries of this divine energy, radiating protection and blessing. The act of their creation, the materials used, the specific form, and often, and when life's journey drew to a close, these silent guardians continued their sacred duty. Perhaps even more profoundly, amulets were meticulously placed within the wrappings of the mummy, or upon the body itself. Imagine the quiet solemnity of the burial chamber, the gentle hands of the priests carefully arranging these small, precious objects upon the deceased, each amulet a whispered prayer, a final act of profound care. So, as the quiet hours of the night gently unfold, let us carry with us this comforting image of the ancient Egyptians, living loves surrounded by these silent guardians, these small, beautiful testaments to their profound belief in heka. These amulets were not tokens of fear or superstition. 5. The healer's sacred touch, blending medicine with gentle enchantments. The night deepens around us. Friend, a soothing hush falling over the world, much like the comforting silence that would have descended upon an ancient Egyptian healing room, where a physician calm and focused prepared to bring solace to the ailing. We've journeyed through the pervasive flow of heka, understanding its cosmic embrace and its quiet presence in daily life, protecting homes and imbuing hieroglyphs and amulets with silent power. Now, let us step into a different, yet equally tender, aspect of their world, the realm of ancient medicine, a practice where the line between physical remedy and spiritual invocation was beautifully, seamlessly blurred. He might also begin to murmur ancient words, perhaps invoking the gentle power of Isis for her healing touch, or appealing to Thoth, the god of knowledge, and writing to guide his hands and mind. These incantations were not seen as separate from the medicine, but as essential companions, enhancing the efficacy of the physical treatment, capable of both bringing and curing plagues. When a community faced widespread illness, priests and physicians would work together, performing elaborate rituals and making offerings to appease her, shared by Sobek and Horus. Here, the afflicted would come seeking solace, not only receiving physical treatments, but participating in purificatory rituals, sleeping in sacred spaces to receive healing dreams. Wise and compassionate figures who understood that true well-being transcended the visible, that the most effective medicine was often a careful blend of empirical knowledge and sacred enchantment, a gentle infusion of heka into every aspect of care. It paints a picture of a society that valued healing, not just as a science, but as an art, a spiritual practice, a profound act of compassion, ensuring that even in moments of vulnerability, there was a comforting presence, a sacred touch, guiding them back to peace, much like the gentle rhythm of your own breath now, as you drift further into peaceful rest, soothed by the quiet wisdom of ancient healers, whose hands and hearts were attuned to the gentle flow of life itself. And engaging with priests who were also skilled physicians, the very air within these sanctuaries was believed to be charged with heka, a therapeutic balm for body and soul, a quiet oasis where the afflicted could truly rest and begin their journey back to wellness, guided by divine wisdom, not in fear, but with a deep reverence for her immense power. But between the individual and the cosmos, an illness was seen as a disruption of this balance, a disharmony. Therefore, restoring health required addressing all aspects: the physical body, the emotional state, and the spiritual connection to the pervasive heka of the universe. The physician's sacred touch was thus a touch that understood this profound interconnectedness, a gentle hand guiding the patient back to their true, balanced self, seeking to gently persuade her to turn her destructive aspects away and bring forth her healing aspect, guiding the community back to health through a vast collective invocation of heka, creating a sacred space for healing to occur, a soft current of heka flowing through the air, permeating the very essence of the remedies being applied. Imagine, if you will, the gentle light of a flickering oil lamp illuminating the face of a patient, perhaps suffering from a fever or a persistent ache. The physician might prepare a soothing balm, perhaps infused with honey and calming herbs, to be applied gently to the skin. The Egyptians understood that fear and anxiety could impede recovery, and these ritualistic elements provided a profound sense of comfort and hope, reassuring the patient that unseen forces were working in their favor, gently coaxing them back to health. But as he did so, he might also softly chant a protective spell, envisioning the illness leaving the child's body like a dark mist dissipating in the morning sun. He might place a small amulet, perhaps a wedget eye, under the child's pillow, or around their neck, a silent guardian continuously radiating positive heka, reinforcing the physical healing with an invisible shield of spiritual well-being. The physician, dressed in simple white linen, approaches with a serene demeanor. In his hands, he holds not only a carefully prepared poultice of herbs or a vial of potent liquid, but also a small papyrus scroll, perhaps a collection of sacred words for in ancient Egypt. The art of healing was never solely about the physical body. It was about restoring balance to the whole being, a harmonious blend of practical knowledge and the subtle nurturing power of heka. The ancient Egyptians were remarkably advanced in their understanding of anatomy and ailments. They performed surgeries. They set broken bones with impressive skill, and they concocted complex remedies from plants, minerals, and animal products. Their medical texts, like the Ebers Papyrus, read almost like modern clinical records, detailing symptoms, diagnoses, and treatments with astonishing precision. Yet, alongside these empirical observations, every treatment was often accompanied by an incantation, a ritual, or the wearing of a protective amulet. This wasn't an act of desperation when physical remedies failed, but an integral part of the healing process, a recognition that illness could also stem from spiritual imbalance, from unwanted influences, or from a disruption in the natural flow of heka within the individual. Consider the physician's approach. He might first examine the patient, feeling their pulse, observing their complexion, much as a modern doctor would. But then, think of a child suffering from a recurring ailment. The worried parents would bring them to the healer. Even the waters used for cleansing or for preparing medicines were often blessed, infused with intention, transforming them from mere liquid into sacred waters, capable of purifying not just the body, but the spirit. The goddess Sekhmet, though often depicted fiercely, was also revered as a powerful healing deity. Imagine the tranquil atmosphere within a temple dedicated to healing, like the one at Kam Umbu. This holistic approach was deeply ingrained in their philosophy. They believed that health was a state of balance, of harmony, not just within the individual. So, as we continue our gentle journey into the heart of ancient Egypt, let us carry with us this comforting image of their healers. 6. Unfurling dreams. The nocturnal wisdom of the ancient Egyptians. The world outside has quieted now. Friend, the last sounds of the day fading into the profound hush of night. And as sleep begins its gentle descent, we too will journey into that liminal space, that borderland between wakefulness and slumber, a place where the ancient Egyptians believed the divine truly whispered. Warnings or blessings sent directly from the gods, or even from beloved ancestors who dwelled in the blissful fields of Ayaru. Imagine entering such a sacred precinct, perhaps at the temple of Hathor at Dendir, or the temple of Imhotep at Saqqara. The air would be still, imbued with the scent of sacred oils and the soft murmur of prayers. Hopeful supplicants would perform purificatory rites, perhaps make offerings, and then lie down to sleep in a designated area, hoping to receive a healing dream, a prophetic vision, or a divine answer to their deepest questions. It was a gentle seeking, a quiet opening of the soul to receive wisdom from the profound silence of the cosmos, where the Sphinx itself spoke to him, promising him kingship. If he cleared the sand from its paws, this dream was seen not as a mere fantasy. Sometimes a small tablet or a piece of papyrus would be kept beside the bed to quickly jot down fragments of a dream before they slipped away like morning mist. This act of remembering and recording was crucial, preserving the precious divine message before the mundane world reclaimed the mind, a silent ritual of reverence for the fleeting wisdom of the night, but as a divine mandate, a clear instruction from the gods, a testament to the powerful role of nocturnal revelations in shaping even the course of history. It was about opening oneself to receive, to listen to the whispers carried on the currents of sleep, believing that the gods would communicate through the language of symbol and feeling, offering comfort, clarity, and direction in a world that, like ours, had its complexities, but one they navigated with a profound sense of connection to the unseen realm, the afterlife. It was believed that during sleep, let us reflect on this gentle aspect of ancient Egyptian belief, how they transformed the act of sleeping into a sacred journey, a quiet communion with the divine for them. Dreams were not just shadows of the waking world, but luminous pathways to wisdom, to healing, to a deeper understanding of themselves and their place within the grand cosmic design. They remind us that sometimes the most profound insights come not from frantic searching, but from quiet surrender, from allowing the feather-light touch of slumber to open our minds to the whispers of a world beyond our immediate grasp, carrying us gently into a night filled with peaceful possibilities. A truly soothing thought as you drift into your own dreams, perhaps to find your own gentle wisdom there. Ancient papyri filled with lists of dream images and their corresponding meanings. For instance, dreaming of a cat might be a sign of good fortune and protection, while seeing a lion could indicate strength or a potential challenge. The interpretation was not rigid, but often nuanced, tailored to the individual's circumstances and the emotional quality of the dream itself. A part of the soul, the ba, could leave the body fluttering like a bird to interact with the divine realm, bringing back precious insights when it returned at dawn. They might also seek a healing dream. They would lie down in a sleep, temple consciously inviting a divine remedy to appear in their slumber, perhaps dreaming of a healing spring or a comforting deity anointing them. Such a dream was believed to be a direct intervention of heka, a divine prescription that complemented any physical remedies, offering not just a cure, but a deep sense of peace and reassurance, a gentle embrace from the unseen world, where the currents of heka flowed most freely into the human mind. We've explored how heka infused the very essence of creation, protected their homes, breathed life into hieroglyphs, and guided the gentle hands of their healers. Now, let us discover how they sought wisdom and foresight from the realm of dreams, transforming the nightly voyage into a profound spiritual endeavor. Imagine, if you will, the serene quiet of an ancient Egyptian bedroom, perhaps a simple chamber within a mud brick home, or a more elaborate room in a noble's villa, as darkness settled, bringing with it a cool respite from the day's heat. The Egyptians would prepare for sleep, not just as a time for physical rest, but as an opportunity for spiritual communion, a chance for the soul to wander, to connect with the gods, and to receive messages from the unseen world. For them, dreams were not simply random fragments of thought or the chaotic residue of daily worries. No. They were divine communications, prophetic visions. Think of a person troubled by a difficult decision, perhaps a merchant considering a long journey, or a farmer anxious about the upcoming harvest. Instead of solely relying on waking counsel, they might seek guidance in their dreams, preparing themselves with ritual cleansing, perhaps burning a fragrant incense, or lying down with a specific prayer whispered to a dream god like Bez, hoping for a clear sign, a vivid image, a comforting voice to guide their path. There were even specialized places, known to us as sleep temples or dream incubators, often associated with deities like Serapis or Imhotep. The interpretation of these nocturnal journeys was a respected and crucial skill, often undertaken by specialized priests or scribes who possessed a profound understanding of symbols and divine messages. They might consult dream books. Consider a person suffering from an illness after seeking the care of a physician, as we discussed in our last gathering. This profound belief in the significance of dreams permeated all levels of society, even the mighty pharaohs. Pharaoh Thutmose IV, for instance, famously attributed his ascent to the throne to a dream. The dream itself was a fragile thing, easily forgotten upon waking. So, great care was taken to recall and record them. It was a beautiful way to interact with the divine, a gentle, passive form of seeking guidance, rather than forceful demands or elaborate ceremonies. So, as the darkness fully settles around us now. 7. The scribe's sacred scroll, custodians of ancient knowledge and power. The stillness of the night is profound now. Friend, a quiet vastness that stretches out like a boundless desert beneath a canopy of stars, perfect for our continuing gentle exploration of ancient Egypt. We have softly touched upon Heka here. Amidst towering shelves filled with countless scrolls sits a scribe, his posture serene, his brow furrowed not with worry, but with profound concentration. He dips his reed pen into a small well of black ink, poised to painstakingly copy an ancient text, a sacred ritual, or a powerful incantation. For in his work there was a quiet dignity, a deep reverence for the living words he meticulously reproduced. He learns not just the words, but the proper intonation, the specific gestures that might accompany their recitation. He understands that these words, when correctly invoked, could literally guide a soul through the perilous pathways of the Duat, could open gates to the blissful fields of Ayaru. His work was not merely academic, but deeply spiritual, a quiet act of ensuring eternal well-being for the deceased, a profound service to the living and the dead, that life-giving current, and seeing how it infused daily life, his mind filled with the weight of generations of accumulated wisdom. But profound truths to be held with utmost reverence, to be used only for the highest good, for maintaining Ma'at, the cosmic balance. They understood the subtle nuances of divine names, the profound symbolism of sacred geometry, the unseen connections that bound all things together. Their wisdom was a quiet treasure, rarely flaunted, always respected. He understood that every carved relief, every painted scene, every column and archway was not just architecture. And priests of ancient Egypt, their hands carefully preserving the living words, their minds attuned to the subtle flow of Heka. They were the silent architects of spiritual continuity, the unwavering custodians of knowledge, ensuring that the profound insights and protective energies of their world would echo through time, guiding generations. A truly comforting thought as the night embraces us more deeply. A gentle reminder that sung wisdom endures, faithfully preserved by those who understood its profound living power, inviting us into a peaceful slumber, knowing that the whispers of ancient knowledge continue to resonate, always flowing, always present. But within the very architecture of their temples and tombs, the walls themselves became vast, enduring scrolls, ensuring that these living charms, these powerful words and images, would continue to resonate through eternity, protecting the pharaohs in their eternal slumber. bringing forth blessings for the living, a silent testament to their enduring belief in the power of the inscribed word, even across countless millennia. But a living sacred space, a three-dimensional scroll imbued with immense heka, his role was to activate this energy, to ensure its continuous flow, to act as a pure conduit for the divine. His quiet presence, his meditative rituals, were vital to the spiritual health of the entire nation. A family might seek a special blessing for a newborn child. They were consulted on matters of health, of law, of agriculture, for their knowledge extended beyond mere literacy. They understood the rhythms of the Nile, the constellations in the night sky, the subtle signs of nature, all seen through the lens of heka, enabling them to offer holistic guidance, gently guiding individuals and communities alike. Or a general might consult for a propitious time to launch a campaign. In each case, it was the scribe priest who drew upon the vast reservoir of ancient knowledge, combining existing formulas with inspired innovation. But they too would have been filled with a quiet sense of sacredness. Their daily routines imbued with small rituals of purification, of blessing, a constant reminder of their connection to the divine current that permeated all things. Their lives were a living embodiment of the wisdom they preserved, a quiet example of harmony and reverence. The specific incantations to awaken the divine essence within the temple statues, the intricate symbolism of every gesture, every sacred object. Their work was a continuous, gentle performance, a constant act of spiritual maintenance, ensuring the flow of blessings to the land and its people, a quiet dedication to cosmic order, carefully weaving new words into the fabric of heka, ensuring the desired outcome while maintaining cosmic balance, breathed life into written words, protected through humble amulets, and even whispered wisdom in the sacred realm of dreams. These scribes were not mere copyists. Oh no, they were scholars, theologians, philosophers, and in many ways, the true practitioners of what we might call sacred arts. Their training was long and arduous, beginning in childhood, mastering the complex beauty of hieroglyphs, understanding their phonetic sounds, their ideographic meanings, and crucially, their symbolic and magical resonance. They learned the ancient myths, the rituals for every occasion, the profound connections between the human world and the divine. Their minds were vast libraries, their hands the careful instruments of preservation. Consider the profound responsibility they carried for the texts they copied and created. Were not just narratives or instructions, they were conduits of heka living documents. Each character, as we've learned, capable of holding immense power. A misplaced stroke, an incorrect word, could alter the very efficacy of a spell, could disrupt the harmonious flow of heka intended for a ritual. Thus, their meticulousness was not merely for aesthetic perfection, but for the sacred integrity of the knowledge itself, ensuring that the divine power enshrined within the words remained pure and potent. Think of a young scribe, perhaps barely out of his apprenticeship, learning to meticulously copy a funerary spell, his heart filled with a mixture of reverence and awe. Beyond the act of copying, these learned individuals were also the creators of new texts, adapted to changing circumstances, or commissioned for specific needs. A pharaoh might require a unique protective inscription for a new temple. Imagine the quiet authority they possessed, not through force or overt displays, but through their profound understanding and their ability to bridge the gap between the visible and the invisible worlds. The priests, often drawn from the ranks of these educated scribes, were the principal guardians of the temple rituals, the daily ceremonies that maintained the harmony between the gods and humankind. They understood the precise timing of offerings. Consider a high priest walking through the hallowed halls of a great temple. They were also the keepers of the more esoteric knowledge, the deeper mysteries of heka, understood only by the most initiated. These were not secrets to be guarded jealously for power. Think of the meticulous care with which they preserved their knowledge, not just on papyrus, even in their personal lives. The scribe priests lived with a profound awareness of heka. Their homes might have been simpler than the grand temples. So, as we bring this chapter to a gentle close, let us honor these quiet guardians of ancient wisdom, the scribes. 8. Protecting the passage. The gentle magic of funerary rituals. The stillness of the night feels almost palpable now. Friend, a comforting silence that mirrors the profound quiet of an ancient Egyptian tomb. A place not of dread, but of sacred slumber. We've softly explored how heka, that pervasive life force, infused their daily lives. Breathed power into their written words. From the careful cleansing of the body to its intricate wrapping and linen bandages, was accompanied by specific prayers and incantations. These were not gruesome acts, but solemn rituals, each motion imbued with heka. They ensured that the soul knew its way, that it could answer the questions of the underworld deities, that it would be recognized and welcomed into the realm of Osiris, transforming the earthly vessel into a sacred form capable of housing the soul for eternity, protecting it from decay and ensuring its perpetual vitality. But in either case, the atmosphere was one of quiet dignity and profound purpose, a sacred space where the deceased could rest peacefully and from which they could emerge to interact with the living. But a magical portal through which the deceased Saka could pass between the tomb and the realm of the living, allowing them to receive offerings and observe their descendants. It was a subtle, comforting connection, ensuring that the bonds of family and memory remained unbroken. A gentle bridge between worlds, always maintained through the quiet flow of heka. It was carefully designed, its walls adorned with beautiful paintings and carvings, depicting scenes of earthly life, of divine judgment, and of the blissful afterlife. These images, as we've learned from our discussions on hieroglyphs, these were not dark ceremonies of fear, but luminous acts of love, guided by the gentle flow of heka, designed to protect, to guide, and to ensure the eternal happiness of the beloved departed. They remind us that for them, death was not an ending to be feared, but a passage to be prepared for with grace, hope, and an abiding faith in the benevolent continuity of existence. A truly comforting thought as the night enfolds us more completely, drawing us into a serene slumber, knowing that even in their deepest farewells, there was only tender protection and eternal peace, were living charms, imbued with heka, constantly working to ensure the deceased's comfort, prosperity, and joy in their eternal dwelling. Offerings of food, drink, and treasured possessions were brought, not as mere tribute, but as sustenance for the soul's journey and as provisions for its eternal existence. These offerings, too, were consecrated with heka, transforming them into spiritual nourishment available to the deceased throughout eternity. Protected them with silent amulets, offered wisdom in dreams, and was carefully preserved by their diligent scribes and priests. Each substance chosen for its symbolic meaning and its inherent connection to preservation and rebirth. Priests would gently touch the mouth, eyes, and limbs of the mummy or its statue with sacred instruments, not to bring it back to life in a literal sense, but to magically reanimate its senses, to restore its ability to eat, drink, see, hear, and speak in the afterlife. This was a profound act of re-empowerment, a gentle infusion of heka to ensure the deceased's full participation in the joys of eternity, a beautiful testament to their belief in the continuity of being. As the linen strips were meticulously wrapped, protective amulets, imbued with their own silent heka, were often placed within the layers, safeguarding vulnerable points, guiding the soul, and providing continuous blessings. It was a profound act of care, a tender farewell infused with the deepest hopes for the journey ahead. Now, as our gentle journey continues, we approach perhaps the most deeply felt application of heka, one that speaks to the very heart of their beliefs about life's eternal continuation, the tender, protective magic of funerary rituals. Imagine, if you will, the serene moments following a loved one's passing. For the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end, but a transition, a profound journey to another, equally vibrant realm, and every ritual, every spell, every carefully placed object was designed not to bid farewell in sorrow, but to prepare, to guide, and to protect the deceased on this sacred passage, ensuring their safe arrival in the beautiful fields of Ayaru, the realm of the blessed dead. Consider the gentle hands of the embalmers. Their work, though seemingly physical, was steeped in deep spiritual significance. Each step of the mummification process. Think of the meticulous way the body was prepared, the careful application of sacred oils and resins. Beyond the physical preparation, the spoken word, the very essence of heka in vocalized form, played a crucial role during the embalming and later at the burial. Priests would recite powerful spells and incantations from sacred texts. These were not curses to ward off the living, but rather profound instructions, gentle requests to the gods, and potent affirmations of the deceased's identity and worthiness. Imagine the solemn procession to the tomb, perhaps a small, humble group for an ordinary person, or a grand, sweeping spectacle for a noble. The tomb itself, whether a simple shaft in the sand or a grand rock-cut chamber, was conceived as the eternal home. Consider the opening of the mouth ceremony, a deeply moving ritual performed just before the final sealing of the tomb. Even the false door, found in many tombs, was a manifestation of protective funerary magic. It wasn't a physical entrance. So, as we bring this chapter to a peaceful close, let us reflect on the deep compassion and profound spiritual wisdom embedded within ancient Egyptian funerary rituals. 9. The Pharaoh's eternal home. Intricate safeguards for a sacred rest. The stillness of the night feels ancient now, friend stretching out around us like the vast, silent desert, broken only by the whispers of history carried on the wind. We've journeyed through the pervasive flow of heka, understood its gentle touch in daily life, in hieroglyphs, in amulets, in healing, in dreams, and in the universal tender care for all who passed beyond the veil. Now, as our gentle exploration continues, we come to a place of unparalleled sacredness and intricate devotion, the eternal dwelling of the Pharaoh, the divine ruler, whose peaceful rest was paramount, not only for his own journey, but for the very stability of Egypt itself. But carefully planned features, designed to disorient, to deter, to protect the sacred burial chamber at the heart of the complex, infused with heka, as we discussed with hieroglyphs. These inscriptions depicted the pharaoh's journey through the underworld, his triumph over chaos, his reception by the gods. Each word, each divine figure, each protective symbol was a powerful, constantly active ward, designed to safeguard his eternal peace, to ensure his successful rebirth, and to empower him for his continued divine role. A continuous hum of protective energy permeating the sacred space. Profound act of securing the pharaoh's passage, sealing his tomb with layers of spiritual protection that transcended mere stone. These were often pleas or warnings, not for terrible retribution, but for respect, for the preservation of the pharaoh's rest. They might state that the wrath of the gods would fall upon those who disturbed the sacred peace. But from a profound love, respect, and deep understanding of heka as a benevolent, protective force, they were intricate spiritual security systems, designed with immense care and devotion to ensure the eternal peace of their divine ruler, and through his undisturbed rest, to guarantee the continued prosperity and harmony of Egypt itself. A truly comforting thought as the night enfolds us more completely, reminding us of the enduring human desire for eternal peace, and the tender ways in which ancient wisdom sought to secure it, gently drawing us into a serene slumber. A warning meant to appeal to a shared reverence for the divine, to discourage sacrilege through an appeal to cosmic justice. Rather than a personal, vindictive curse, they were a gentle, yet firm, assertion of sacred boundaries and mortar, creating an aura of sacred inviolability around the eternal dwelling. Each turn and passage was a silent sentinel, a gentle deterrent created through foresight and ingenuity, rather than any malevolent intent, often hidden far below the surface, or behind cleverly disguised entrances. Sometimes, false walls were constructed, or passages deliberately filled with rubble after the burial. These were not malicious traps. but subtle, physical safeguards, reflecting a deep desire to provide the pharaoh with an undisturbed eternal rest, a peaceful continuation of his divine purpose. Imagine, if you will, the quiet grandeur of the Valley of the Kings, nestled amidst towering cliffs bathed in the soft, was not merely for earthly display, but was believed to be vital for the pharaoh's comfort and status in the afterlife. These precious objects, often themselves adorned with protective symbols and inscribed with heka-infused words, were an extension of the pharaoh's being, ensuring his enduring prosperity and power in the eternal realm. And thus, their safeguarding was a matter of cosmic importance, not mere material greed. Ethereal glow of moonlight, it is a landscape of profound silence, broken only by the occasional cry of a night bird, a return to the divine realm from which he came, and preparation. Every tunnel, every chamber, every inscribed wall was imbued with intention, serving as a complex spiritual security system, designed to repel any force that might seek to disturb the pharaoh's sacred slumber, whether it be natural decay, accidental intrusion, or, in the rare moments of genuine concern, the desperate acts of those who might seek to steal precious grave goods. A reunion with the gods, and his tomb was not merely a grave, but an eternal palace, a vessel for his journey to rejoin Ra, to become Osiris, and from there, to continue his divine governance over Egypt, ensuring the annual flood, the bountiful harvest, and the very stability of the cosmos. Therefore, the protection of his eternal dwelling was an absolute necessity, a sacred duty for the entire kingdom, a place where generations of pharaohs, believed to be living gods, were laid to rest, their tombs carved deep into the living rock, not as places of ominous foreboding, but as meticulously designed sanctuaries, imbued with the most potent applications of heka, intended solely to ensure an undisturbed eternity. For the pharaoh, death was not just a transition, but a transformation. Consider the colossal effort involved in constructing these royal tombs. Years, even decades, of meticulous carving, painting. Think of the elaborate pathways within the tombs, the long, sloping corridors, the sudden shifts in direction, the deep, dark shafts. These were not merely architectural quirks. The very walls of these royal tombs were vibrant tapestries of sacred texts and images, not just decorative art, but living charms. Imagine the meticulous care taken to conceal the actual burial chamber, even the vast amount of treasure placed within these tombs, the gold, the jewels, the exquisitely crafted furniture. The priests who officiated these royal burials held immense knowledge of funerary heka. They understood the precise rituals, the powerful invocations, the specific arrangements of protective amulets and sacred texts. Their solemn ceremonies were a final. Consider the subtle, yet potent, inscriptions found in some royal tombs, which are sometimes misinterpreted as curses. So, as we bring this chapter to a peaceful close, let us understand that the elaborate safeguards of the pharaoh's eternal home were born not from fear of a vengeful magic. 10. Beyond the curse. Decoding the warnings of the tombs, imagine, if you will, the flickering torchlight, illuminating the interior of an ancient Egyptian tomb, perhaps one that has lain undisturbed for millennia, the air still and heavy with the dust of ages. And then, a popular image springs to mind, whispers of malevolent forces. But for every individual, they believed that the deceased continued a vital existence in the afterlife, relying on offerings and the undisturbed sanctity of their eternal home. Thus, any violation of a tomb was not merely a crime against property, or any man who shall harm this tomb, the gods will judge him, not as a direct spell cast upon him, but as a solemn promise of divine displeasure, a gentle, yet firm warning that his actions would bring unfavorable attention from the gods. It was a profound testament to their belief in free will within a divinely ordered universe, reminding individuals that their choices had spiritual repercussions. That harmony was maintained through respectful adherence to sacred laws, perhaps leading to illness, misfortune, or failure in his own life. This appeal to a greater, unseen power was often more potent than any physical trap, acting as a quiet psychological deterrent, ensuring the undisturbed peace of the deceased. This was not a malevolent ghost seeking vengeance, but the ka or ba of the deceased, empowered by heka. A quiet insistence that sacred boundaries be respected. They mirrored the Egyptians' overarching worldview, where balance was paramount, and any disruption to that balance, whether in life or in death, would inevitably be corrected by the cosmic forces. The curse was thus a reaffirmation of this cosmic justice, a gentle reassurance that all things would ultimately return to harmony, and sanctioned by the gods, ensuring that their eternal peace remained inviolate. They were not dark spells, but solemn warnings, appeals to divine justice, and heartfelt pleas for respect born from a deep reverence for the deceased and an unwavering belief in cosmic order. They remind us that even in the face of perceived threat, the ancient Egyptians sought to maintain harmony and peace, a comforting thought as the night enfolds us more completely, allowing us to rest in the gentle understanding that truth, like the stars, shines brightest in the quiet darkness, leading us into a serene slumber, free from fear, filled with peace. It was a continuation of their protective role, even after death, a loving self-defense for their perpetual existence. These phrases were not meant to conjure a magical affliction in the moment, but to invoke a profound spiritual consequence, to remind potential wrongdoers that their actions would not go unnoticed by the divine powers, that cosmic justice would eventually prevail, which, as we discussed, were believed to be essential for the deceased's eternal comfort. Thus, these warnings were also a practical measure, an attempt to protect the sacred provisions of the afterlife, to ensure that the journey to eternity remained well supplied and undisturbed. The curse was in this sense a defense of the spiritual economy, a quiet safeguarding of eternal sustenance. It was an appeal to conscience, a deterrent rooted in shared belief rather than instantaneous magical retribution, but a grave sacrilege, a disruption of the sacred order, an act that could imperil the soul's eternal journey. It was this deep respect for the deceased's peace and their profound concern for cosmic balance that truly motivated these inscriptions of ancient curses waiting to strike down intruders. This dramatic notion, though captivating, often overshadows the true, gentle purpose behind the inscriptions found within these sacred resting places. For in reality, what we often label as a curse was, for the ancient Egyptians, a solemn sacred warning, a plea for respect, a gentle assertion of divine justice, woven into the very fabric of their belief system. Consider the profound reverence the Egyptians held for their dead, not just for the pharaohs. Think of the meticulous care with which these tomb warnings were crafted, often in elegant hieroglyphs, as we've discussed, each symbol imbued with a living power. They were rarely direct, violent threats, but rather appeals to divine authority, pronouncements of the cosmic consequences that awaited those who would dare to desecrate a sacred space. They were a gentle but firm statement of boundaries, a reminder that the unseen world, permeated by heka, was always vigilant, always upholding Ma'at, the universal order and truth. For instance, an inscription might read something akin to, "As for any man who shall enter this tomb in his impurity, I will seize him like a goose." Imagine a potential tomb robber standing at the entrance of a burial chamber, perhaps his heart pounding with greed as his eyes scan the inscribed walls. He reads these words. The warnings were often conditional. If you do this wrong, then this consequence will follow. This structure is crucial. It implies a moral choice, a moment of reflection, rather than an inescapable doom. Consider the common intent behind tomb robbery. It was often driven by the desire for precious metals or fine objects. Sometimes, these inscriptions would even invoke the name of the deceased themselves, stating that the spirit of the tomb owner would punish those who violated their resting place. Think of the serene dignity of these warnings. They were not filled with rage or malice, but with a profound sense of righteousness, a desire for order. So as we conclude this chapter, let us understand that the sensational tales of ancient Egyptian curses often miss the profound beauty and gentle purpose behind these inscriptions. 11. sentinels of the afterlife. The enduring power of shabdis and figurines. Imagine, if you will, the quiet interior of an ancient Egyptian burial chamber, bathed in the ethereal glow of ancient sunlight, or perhaps the softer, warmer light of our own quiet contemplation. It is a space filled not with emptiness, but with purpose, with carefully chosen objects, each one a testament to profound belief and meticulous preparation for eternity. Sometimes holding miniature hoes and baskets, imagine them standing in neat rows within their specially crafted boxes. Including farming and other tasks, the shabdis acted as magical proxies. They were specifically enchanted with a text from the Book of the Dead, a spell that would activate them, causing them to answer on behalf of the deceased. Each was made with care and intention, their very creation an act of infusing them with purpose. With a gentle, active power, they were not just representations, but living potentials, waiting for the subtle currents of the afterlife to awaken their protective and serving functions. Here I am, they would say, taking up the tools and performing the necessary work. Imsidi the human-headed, Hapi the baboon-headed, Duamudef the jackal-headed, and Kebisanuf the falcon-headed. These jars held the carefully preserved internal organs of the deceased, each son of Horus acting as a divine guardian for a specific organ, but magically transformed provisions, activated by ritual and intention, ensuring that the deceased would never hunger or thirst, that their eternal life would be one of abundance and serenity. Each offering, no matter how small, was a conduit for heka, connecting the world of the living to the needs of the departed, a continuous stream of loving care flowing into eternity. Or within the mummy wrappings, this particular amulet, though often a scarab beetle like those worn by the living, was distinct in its profound purpose. It was typically inscribed with a special spell from the Book of the Dead and empower the deceased for eternity. Every object, every inscription, every architectural feature worked in harmony, channeling heka to fulfill its sacred purpose. From the tireless shabdis to the vigilant canopic jars, each a testament to the ancient Egyptians' profound belief in the continuity of life, and their unwavering dedication to ensuring the peace and prosperity of their beloved dead. They remind us that even in stillness, there can be purpose, that even in the quiet of a tomb, there is a vibrant energy, a continuous flow of heka, gently supporting, protecting, and embracing the journey of the soul through eternity, inviting us into a truly serene and comforting slumber, ensuring the peaceful slumber and joyous rebirth of the soul. It was a testament to their deep faith, their meticulous planning, and their profound understanding of how the seen and unseen worlds intertwined, always for the ultimate well-being of the beloved departed. A plea to the heart not to bear false witness against the deceased during the crucial weighing of the heart ceremony in the Hall of Two Truths. It was a gentle reassurance, a magical safeguard against any potential stumble in the final judgment, ensuring a smooth and righteous passage into eternal bliss. A tender act of spiritual advocacy, ensuring its protection and availability for the deceased's eternal body. This was a profound act of spiritual guardianship, a division of vital responsibility for the soul's completeness, all overseen by the nurturing power of heka, ensuring that the tomb owner could enjoy an eternity of serene rest and leisure. A truly comforting thought for a people whose lives were often filled with hard labor, or carefully arranged around the coffin. To our modern eyes, they might seem quaint, but for the ancient Egyptians, these were vital companions. But perhaps to allow the ka of the deceased to continue enjoying the comforts and familiar routines of earthly existence, their presence comforting, their potential awakened by the continuous flow of heka, providing a sense of continuity and well-being beyond the grave, poised to spring to life through the power of heka and inscribed spells. Whenever the deceased was called upon to perform any labor in the afterlife, these weren't merely earthly possessions transported to the tomb. Oh no, they were sacred tools, imbued with heka, destined to serve as faithful companions and tireless workers for the deceased in the radiant fields of the afterlife. Consider the most famous of these silent servants, The shabdi figurines, small, often beautifully crafted statues, typically resembling mummified figures. Think of the precious peace these shabdis promised. In a world where the afterlife was often depicted as a continuation of earthly endeavors, beyond the shabdis, other figurines and models filled the tomb, each with a specific, benevolent purpose. There might be small wooden models of boats with their crews, ready to transport the deceased across the celestial waters, or models of granaries, magically filled with unending supplies of grain, ensuring eternal sustenance. These miniature worlds, animated by heka, provided a comforting continuity of earthly joys and necessities, guaranteeing comfort and prosperity in the new realm. Imagine the meticulous craftsmanship that went into these objects, from the humblest clay shabti to the most exquisite gilded wooden figures. Consider the sacred canopic jars, often 4 in number, exquisitely crafted from alabaster or limestone, their lids shaped into the heads of the 4 sons of Horus. Then there was the heart scarab, often placed directly over the heart of the deceased. Even seemingly mundane objects found in tombs, like combs, cosmetic palettes, or furniture, were often imbued with a quiet purpose. They were not just for use in the afterlife in a literal sense. Imagine the vast array of offerings, from intricate jewelry to simple loaves of bread, carefully placed within the tomb. These were not just gifts. The entire tomb, with all its carefully curated contents, was itself a vast magical machine, a complex system designed to sustain, protect. So, as the gentle quiet of the night settles more deeply around us, let us appreciate these silent sentinels of the afterlife, these humble yet powerful objects. 12. Whispers of divine justice. Oaths, ordeals, and cosmic balance. Imagine, if you will, a sun-drenched courtyard in an ancient Egyptian town. Perhaps a dispute has arisen between 2 neighbors, a disagreement over boundaries, or a contested claim over property. In our modern world, such matters would likely find their way to a formal court with complex laws and intricate procedures. And order, it was not merely a goddess, but the very foundation of the universe. In such instances, the Egyptians might turn to a divine oracle, a direct consultation with a god or goddess, perhaps at a temple. Imagine the solemn procession, the quiet reverence, as a question was posed to the deity, perhaps inscribed on a papyrus or whispered by a priest. The answer might come through the subtle movements of a statue, or through the pronouncements of a possessed priest, perhaps by walking barefoot over hot coals, or by consuming a harmless yet symbolically significant draught. If the person emerged unscathed, or without adverse reaction, such as tomb desecration or betrayal of an oath, would not go unpunished by the gods. The curse, in this context, was not something actively cast by a human. For them, the universe was not chaotic, but a finely tuned mechanism, where righteousness was ultimately rewarded, and wrongdoing, gently yet inevitably, led to rebalancing. They remind us that a deep trust in the universe, as inherent order, can bring a profound sense of peace and security, ensuring that truth, like the rising sun, will always ultimately shine through the darkness, leading us into a truly serene and comforting slumber, secure in the quiet wisdom of an ordered world. But a natural consequence of violating divine order, a subtle flow of negative heka returning to the wrongdoer, manifesting as misfortune, illness, or societal disgrace. It was a gentle yet firm, cosmic feedback loop, ensuring balance rather than a vengeful act. It was taken as a sign of divine favor, a quiet testament to their innocence. It was not a punitive test designed to harm, but a process to allow the divine hand, guided by heka, to reveal the truth when human testimony was insufficient, ensuring justice prevailed through cosmic intervention. These oracles were not dramatic spectacles, but moments of profound humility, a gentle seeking of divine clarity, a trust in heka to reveal what human eyes could not discern, a divine rhythm that governed everything from the stars in the sky to the smallest human interaction, and that ultimately Ma'at would prevail, instilled a profound sense of responsibility. It encouraged honesty, fairness, and compassion, not out of fear of dramatic punishment, but out of a deep understanding that living in harmony with cosmic order brought blessings, peace, and prosperity. It was a gentle moral compass, guiding individuals towards righteous conduct. The priests and scribes, as custodians of sacred knowledge, often played a role in these processes, not as judges in our modern sense, but as intermediaries, interpreting divine signs, overseeing rituals, and explaining the intricate connections between human actions and cosmic consequences. Their presence lent a quiet gravitas to these proceedings, reassuring all involved that the pursuit of truth and justice was a sacred endeavor, always guided by the unseen yet ever-present flow of heka. Their hands perhaps resting on a divine image or over a bowl of sacred water as they recited their promises. For them, these were not empty words, but utterances imbued with heka. Binding their intentions to the cosmic order, it was believed that breaking such an oath would not merely lead to human disapproval, but would disrupt Ma'at, invoking the subtle yet inevitable consequences of divine retribution, a gentle warning of cosmic rebalancing. Every act of goodness, every truthful word, strengthened Ma'at, and every act of dishonesty or injustice, however small, was a subtle disruption. Thus, maintaining Ma'at was not just a moral duty, but a sacred responsibility, crucial for the well-being of the individual and the entire land. But for the ancient Egyptians, while laws certainly existed, there was an overarching belief, a profound trust that the true arbiter of justice was often found in the divine realm, where heka ensured that imbalances would ultimately be corrected, and truth would gently, yet inevitably, emerge. Consider the profound concept of Ma'at, that cosmic principle of truth, justice, balance. Think of a moment when the truth of a matter seemed elusive, when a simple dispute could not be resolved through human argument alone. Then there were the sacred oaths, solemn vows taken by invoking the names of deities, or by swearing upon sacred objects. Imagine two individuals in a solemn agreement. Consider a situation where a person accused of a crime might undergo an ordeal, a ritualistic test to determine guilt or innocence. The very concept of curses, in their most fundamental societal application, was tied to this idea of divine justice, a disruption of Ma'at. It was believed that grave wrongdoing. Imagine the psychological effect this pervasive belief had on daily conduct. The knowledge that every action, every word, every intention was observed by the divine. So, as the quiet hours of the night gently unfold around us, let us reflect on this profound aspect of ancient Egyptian belief, how their understanding of heka intertwined with their sense of justice and cosmic balance. 13. The continuous thread. Communicating with the beloved departed. The night deepens around us now. Friend, a profound quiet settling over the world, much like the gentle peace that settled upon ancient Egyptian families as they remembered their beloved ancestors. We've journeyed through the pervasive flow of heka, exploring its embrace in life, in the sacredness of words and objects, in healing, in dreams, in the wisdom of scribes, and in the meticulous protection of the deceased, even learning to understand the subtle warnings of the tombs. Now, as our quiet exploration continues, we come to a most tender and intimate facet of their belief system, the enduring conviction that death was not a final separation, but a transition, allowing for a continuous, loving dialogue between the living and the beloved departed. Recount current family news, or gently complain about injustices, hoping the deceased now dwelling with the gods could intercede on their behalf. It was a profound act of faith and love, a way to keep the family unit whole, even across the divide of existence. The ancestors were remembered. A portion of the feast might be set aside as an offering, a small libation poured onto the ground, acknowledging their continued presence and sharing the joy. It was a continuous dialogue of reciprocal care, the living providing sustenance, but as a gentle, pervasive reverence for family heritage, small altars in homes. Regular visits to tombs, the recitation of names and good deeds of the departed, all serve to keep the memory of ancestors vibrant and alive, ensuring that their ba continued to flourish in the afterlife, and that their protective influence remained strong for the living. It was a beautiful testament to the power of memory and the enduring bonds of affection, gently weaving past and present into a seamless whole. And remembrance, the deceased offering protection and blessings, a beautiful cycle of giving and receiving, sustained by the enduring power of heka. Let us reflect on this tender, continuous thread that connected the ancient Egyptians to their beloved departed, their belief in communicating with ancestors through offerings and heartfelt letters paints a picture of a society that understood love to be eternal, transcending the boundaries of life and death. They remind us that even in separation, connection can endure, that love leaves an indelible mark, and that the quiet whispers of remembrance can bridge any divide, inviting us into a truly serene and comforting slumber, secure in the gentle understanding that the bonds of affection are indeed eternal, flowing like the calm waters of the Nile through the quiet landscape of our dreams. Imagine, if you will, a quiet moment in a humble ancient Egyptian home, perhaps a family gathered around a small table, now in a realm of greater understanding and closeness to the divine, had a more direct line to the gods, and could act as powerful advocates for their living descendants. Thus, a gentle appeal to a wise ancestor was often seen as more effective than a direct plea to a distant deity, reflecting a deeply personal and familial spiritual connection. That family bonds endured, that love continued to flow across realms. It instilled a sense of continuity, a quiet reassurance that life, in all its forms, was an eternal journey, and that one was always part of a greater lineage, guided and protected by those who had gone before. It removed much of the fear from death, transforming it into a mere step in a longer, more profound existence. Placing offerings of fresh water, a loaf of bread, or a fragrant flower, this was not merely a ritualistic act of remembrance. The mobile aspect of the soul that could travel between the earthly and divine realms, these beliefs allowed for a dynamic relationship with the dead, or even leave a small offering at a household shrine dedicated to ancestors. And there he would speak, openly and sincerely, perhaps even writing a letter to the dead, carefully inscribing his concerns on a pottery shard or a piece of papyrus. These were heartfelt communications, pleas for guidance, for intervention, for the wisdom and protective power of their ancestors to flow into his life. The departed were not distant, unreachable figures, but ever-present presences, capable of influencing the lives of their descendants and deserving of continued love and remembrance, but a genuine exchange, a way for the living to sustain their deceased loved ones in the afterlife, and for the departed to continue to bless and protect their living kin. For them, the veil between worlds was thin, permeable, allowing for a gentle, continuous thread of connection to weave through time. Consider the profound belief in the various aspects of the soul, the kai, the life force that remained close to the tomb and required sustenance, and the ba. Think of a son, perhaps facing a difficult challenge, a sickness in the family, or a struggle in his work. Instead of simply enduring his troubles, he might visit the tomb of his deceased father or mother. Imagine the quiet solemnity of writing such a letter, the careful formation of each hieroglyph, knowing that these words, imbued with heka, would magically reach the intended recipient in the afterlife. The words might express gratitude for past blessings. These letters were typically placed in the tomb, or near the offering tables, where the ka of the deceased could receive them. It was believed that the departed, consider a family celebrating a joyous occasion, a wedding, a birth, or a successful harvest. Even in these moments of happiness, the concept was one of profound comfort, knowing that even after death, one was not alone. Think of the cult of the ancestors, not as a dramatic or fearful practice, so as the quiet hours of the night gently deepen around us. 14. Echoes through time. The gentle influence of Egyptian beliefs. Imagine, if you will, the gentle current of the Nile, slowly inexorably carrying its life-giving waters to distant lands, its influence reaching far beyond its immediate banks. So too did the profound and ancient wisdom of Egypt, like a quiet enduring river, extend its subtle influence across continents and centuries, touching the nascent thoughts of other civilizations, seeking knowledge from its wise priests and scribes. Imagine these eager minds sitting patiently in temple courtyards listening to the quiet explanations of cosmic order, of divine principles and justice, or the profound understanding of a soul's journey after death, its encounter with judgment, and the possibility of a blissful eternal existence. These notions, so central to Egyptian thought, found echoes, albeit in different forms, in emerging Greek mystery cults and later philosophical schools, suggesting a gentle cross-pollination of ideas, a quiet understanding passing from one culture to another like the soft exchange of gifts. During the Roman period, these texts, though written in Greek, claimed ancient Egyptian origins, and indeed, they speak of universal truths, of the interconnectedness of all things, of divine wisdom accessible through contemplation, concepts that bear a quiet kinship to the Egyptian understanding of heka as a pervasive, intelligent force, but always carrying a faint, beautiful echo of their Egyptian origins, a testament to the universal appeal of concepts like cosmic order, divine justice, and the hopeful promise of an eternal existence. It was as if the ancient Egyptian spirit of inquiry into the divine nature of the universe had found a new voice, a new way to gently whisper its timeless truths of the afterlife, and then returning to their own lands, carrying subtle seeds of Egyptian wisdom within their thoughts, allowing them to gently take root and bloom in new philosophical gardens. It is perhaps because they hold within them a profound sense of purpose, a deep spiritual resonance, a quiet understanding of existence that still speaks to something fundamental within the human soul. It is the lingering echo of heka, gently calling to us across the millennia, reminding us of a time when the visible and invisible worlds were seamlessly intertwined, how its profound wisdom, its deep understanding of heka and the cosmos did not vanish with its fading empire, but continued to resonate a gentle undercurrent in the vast ocean of human thought. It reminds us that ideas, when born of truth and reverence, can transcend time and borders, continuing to inspire to comfort and to illuminate a truly soothing thought as the night enfolds us more completely, knowing that the whispers of ancient wisdom continue to echo through the silence, guiding us gently into a serene slumber, filled with the profound peace of enduring knowledge, lending a soft hue to their emerging philosophies and spiritual understandings, often without grand pronouncements, but through a gradual, pervasive resonance. Consider the ancient Greeks, often seen as the foundational thinkers of Western philosophy. Their inquisitive minds were undeniably drawn to the mysterious allure of Egypt. Many of their most revered philosophers, figures like Pythagoras, Thales, and Solon, are said to have journeyed to the land of the Nile. Think of the concepts that might have quietly resonated. The idea of a structured cosmos, an ordered universe where divine principles, akin to Ma'at, ensured balance. Even the symbolism of ancient Egypt, infused with heka, began to travel. Imagine the elegant ankh, the symbol of life, appearing in later Roman or Coptic contexts, or the revered scarab beetle, representing renewal, finding its way into jewelry and decorative motifs far from its homeland. These were not always direct imitations, but often a quiet appreciation, a recognition of timeless forms that resonated with universal human aspirations for life, for rebirth, for protection, their ancient power subtly permeating new cultural expressions. Consider the profound influence on the later Hermetic tradition, a collection of mystical and philosophical writings that emerged much later. The very enduring fascination with Egypt, even into our modern times, is perhaps an echo of this ancient influence. Why did the pyramids, the serene faces of pharaohs, the intricate hieroglyphs continue to captivate us? This influence was rarely one of forceful conversion or dramatic conquest. Oh no, It was a subtle, almost imperceptible diffusion, like the scent of desert blooms carried on a soft evening breeze. It was through trade, through scholarship, through the quiet exchange of ideas that these ancient beliefs found new homes, adapting, transforming. So as we gently approach the final moments of our journey, let us recognize this beautiful, quiet legacy of ancient Egypt. 15. The ever-present hum. Finding ancient wisdom in modern quietude. Imagine, if you will, the vast, shimmering expanse of the desert night, the stars above a brilliant, unchanging tapestry, and beneath, the silent, enduring presence of the pyramids, the invisible breath that animated all things, from the smallest grain of sand to the mightiest deity, where protective charms like bays and torit stood as silent guardians, ensuring well-being and deterring minor discomforts. Not with dramatic force, but with a gentle, ever-present watchfulness. It reminds us that true peace often begins in the simplest of spaces, in the sanctuary of our own hearts and homes, gently tended and protected, reminding their wearers that the benevolent forces of the universe were always close, always watching, a subtle reassurance in every moment. Think of it now as a gentle, continuous hum, resonating through every fiber of existence, connecting the divine with the mundane, the seen with the unseen, a constant, reassuring melody beneath the surface of their lives. But the spirit, it was a holistic approach, ensured that the flow of heka was maintained, that the cosmic order endured. They were the silent architects of spiritual continuity, their quiet dedication ensuring that ancient wisdom would echo through the ages. But as a journey for the soul, a time for divine messages and insightful guidance, reminding us that sometimes the deepest truths reveal themselves in quiet stillness. The vigilant canopic jars guarding precious life essences, all imbued with heka, serving as faithful companions and ensuring the deceased's eternal comfort and prosperity. A beautiful testament to their unwavering belief in the continuity of being. In the moments when we surrender to the gentle currents of slumber, bridging the veil between worlds, allowing for an ongoing loving dialogue, a profound comfort that spoke to the enduring power of family bonds and remembrance, ensuring that love truly knew no end, influencing distant cultures, their ideas flowing like the Nile to enrich new streams of thought, a testament to the universal appeal of profound truths, reminding us that wisdom, once born, finds its way to resonate across the ages, softly, gently, enduringly. A quiet recognition that physical well-being was deeply intertwined with spiritual harmony, guided always by the restorative flow of heka, a soothing balm for every ailment, seen and unseen. Those intricate, beautiful symbols that were far more than mere words. They were divine utterances, imbued with heka, capable of shaping reality, protecting walls, but as a profound, gentle understanding of the universe itself. It was a pervasive belief in heka, a gentle current of connection, of order, of peace, just waiting for us to listen, to feel its subtle flow, and to find serenity in its timeless embrace, allowing your mind to rest, your spirit to find calm, secure in the quiet, comforting knowledge that some truths are eternal, always there, gently holding us in their profound, timeless wisdom. Good night, dear friend. May your dreams be filled with gentle peace. The inherent order, the ever-present life force that connected all things, ensuring balance, protection, and well-being. It was a calm, integrated way of life, filled with a deep reverence for the seen and unseen worlds. And this led us to understand that the so-called curses were in truth solemn warnings, pleas for respect, gentle affirmations of cosmic justice rather than vindictive spells, reminding us that true power often lies in deterrence and divine oversight, not in sudden, harmful retribution or guiding souls. Imagine the quiet reverence of a scribe, his hands carefully tracing a spell, knowing he was not just writing, but bringing power into tangible form. A testament to the profound potential held within intentional words and symbols. Testaments to a civilization that understood the profound harmony of existence. As we prepare to bring our quiet journey to a close, let us reflect on all that we have gently uncovered. For the greatest revelation of ancient Egyptian magic lies not in sensational tales or dramatic spells, but in its quiet truth, its deep wisdom, its pervasive, comforting nature. It was not about bending the world to a powerful will, but about aligning oneself with the universe's benevolent flow. With heka, we began our journey by understanding heka not as a separate, mystical practice, but as the very life force of creation itself. Consider how this understanding permeated their every day. We saw it in the humble homes. We then marveled at the living power of their hieroglyphs, and the silent guardians, the amulets, small and intimate, worn close to the skin, each a miniature reservoir of heka, a specific blessing, a gentle shield against the uncertainties of life, from the scarab of rebirth to the eye of Horus for protection. They were companions, comforting presences. Our journey also took us to the healing touch, where ancient Egyptian physicians seamlessly blended practical remedies with gentle incantations and rituals. Understanding that true healing encompassed not just the body, we drifted into the ethereal realm of dreams, learning how the Egyptians found profound wisdom in the whispers of the night, viewing sleep not just as rest. And we recognized the quiet diligence of the scribes and priests, the true custodians of this vast, intricate knowledge, their meticulous work in preserving and interpreting sacred texts, a profound understanding of rituals. Even the grand royal tombs, initially perceived by some with sensational dread, revealed themselves as masterpieces of protective heka, intricate spiritual safeguards designed solely to ensure the pharaoh's undisturbed eternal rest, a profound testament to love and reverence rather than any malevolent intent. Then we uncovered the quiet purpose of the sacred objects, the tireless Shabi figures ready to work in the afterlife. And in perhaps one of the most heartwarming discoveries, we found the continuous thread of communication with the beloved departed, through gentle offerings and heartfelt letters to the dead. Finally, we saw how the echoes of this ancient wisdom, these gentle concepts of order, balance, and the soul's journey subtly permeated through time. So, as the profound quiet of the night settles completely around us, let us carry with us this deeper understanding of ancient Egyptian magic, not as a force to be feared or sensationalized. As you drift now into your own peaceful slumber, let this ancient wisdom be a soft lullaby, a quiet reassurance that beneath the surface of our busy lives, there is an ever-present hum. That's it for today. If you liked today's video, hit the subscribe button for next video. Now sleep.